Vogue Teen has an article including Gwendlyn Brown from Sister Wives, the kids of reality TV stars didn't choose this life, but they would do it all again. Okay, I'm going to kind of talk about what we see. You can just Google Teen Vogue Gwendlyn Brown and you can read the whole thing yourself. So it kind of starts out here. I'm going to move out of the way. You can always pause and just read it yourself. In general, I was kind of surprised the number of kids who said, yeah, they would do it again. So the resounding answer is yes, they would do it again. So the first section is on Gwendlyn Brown, and they kind of run through stuff that we already know about Sister Wives, about how she would go to school. She would tell people they were not compensated. They consider the film crew their new uncles, and that she really talks about something that I think we've talked about a lot in the community, which is the idea that we didn't see what their lives were really like because once the show started filming, they were lifted out of a poverty situation, according to her. So we got thrown all of this fame and money. Gwendlyn does explain sort of in the article that they were not paid directly, but at some point her mom started paying her, but that they all benefited from the fact that they had a better standard of living, and that I think McKelty's also talked about like day old bread and stuff, like they were lifted up out of that, or I guess day old bread is not that old, but you know what I mean. So she had a room where she could go, but she always felt that she was having a hard time. Here she talks about leaving the house and noticing that the cameras weren't following her, and she was embarrassed. That it was very difficult for her teenage years. Beautiful pictures of her. She looks so lovely. See? So lovely. All that anger and all that publicity. You can pause and read. Whole bunch more. You can look back as an adult and be like, that poor kid, also poor me now. She was glad the times were there. Family vacations, she gets to watch those back. They capture the hard times, her mother's divorce, and the chain reaction that resulted in 3 of the 4 wives leaving. He was once an polygamy evangelic, whatever, but now he's a monogamous. The divorce was bound to happen, cameras or not. I think that's kind of what I said too. Maybe the cameras lifted him to a place where they could leave. I hope they get a divorce. Wild. Okay, so they made the best exceptions they could. I didn't go through the whole article. It's a very long article. It's a very good article, but we kind of got the summary here. Another summary I read talks about the fact that they were not paid directly, but her mom has started kind of giving them some money based on how much they film. You can feel however you want about this. I totally get the idea. On one hand is the argument that the whole family was lifted up by being on TV. Another argument is that the kids could never consent to it, and they didn't understand the implications of what they were doing, which is very valid, which is why I super support any of the kids who now choose not to be on it. A lot of people have made comments about Dayton not being present in and not being filmed. I fully support his decision not to be on the show. My assumption is that it has nothing to do with any feelings that he has about Garrison. He's been absent from the show for several seasons now. It's the same way I would give any of the kids a pass if they choose not to be filmed. So I have no criticism from them. And any of the kids that chose not to be filmed, I always just say, like, I would love to hear their opinion. I'd love to hear from Logan. I'd love to hear more from Hunter. I'd love to hear more from Dayton. But I respect the fact that my desire to hear from them is nothing compared to their desire to live the life that they choose. So there you go. But great article, really interesting. Not a lot of new facts for those of us who've been watching the show for a while, but there you go, girl. Okay, found it. So here's the spot where they talk about the pay. I couldn't find it in my first attempt, but I went back and looked for it. They were not paid. They weren't paid directly. Years later, Brown said her mom decided to pay her kids a certain amount. It certainly hasn't been a fair share. I don't know what that, that's clearly her opinion. She's probably right. I don't know. I don't know what she feels is a fair share. Christine said, remember the children not paid directly, though the family did put money aside for college and fun. So there you go. I knew, I didn't want to quote it until I could find it myself, but there it is.